Spencer, we talked about a lot after the game the other day. The one thing that
I'm going to keep it tighter today. I'm telling you that right now. Jeez.
Alexi Protas came back in Game 5. What did you see from him, and what was sort of the thought process behind putting him back in on the Dowd line where he did?
I thought it was, I thought overall performance-wise, I thought he was good. I thought his pace looked good. His puck touches for the most part were good. Thought he gave us some good shifts on the penalty kill. There was a little bit of rust, but I would say more related to him just missing a bunch of time and getting plugged right into a competitive playoff series. So I was happy with the way that he played. I thought the chemistry on that line, the reason we put him there is, well, a couple reasons. Bo's had a lot of success playing with Stromer and O, so we feel really comfortable with that line right now. So putting him with Dowd is a really easy centerman to play with and come back into the lineup with. And Pro is so versatile from being able to play top six, bottom six, penalty kill. So when he looks at the lineup and sees where he is, he knows, okay, here's what I got to do tonight at a high level playing with Nick Dowd. And I felt like their chemistry, some good ozone shifts. They had a couple good scoring chances that they created. I think it was the most productive Dowd's line's been in the series analytics-wise. So good start for Pro, and to get him back in, and hopefully he only gets better from there and continues to feel more and more comfortable.
I was just going to follow up on that. Do you think just getting that game in will help him in the next series and maybe could play a bigger role for you as it goes on?
I do. I think him getting that game under his belt, coming back into a series clinching game, us having success and winning the game, I think that'll give him some confidence. And I think as we move along here into the Carolina series, I think his game and the role, to your question, will just become more impactful and more significant as we move along.
I thought the way that you deployed your lines in the Montreal series was kind of masterful in a lot of ways.
Thank you.
The Strome line did not. Those three guys, Strome, Bo, and O, didn't take a D-zone draw until the first period of Game 5, and they led going into that game. Led all lines in goals at even strength, and you put them in a position to have that success. Obviously, Carolina's a vastly different team. They deploy their personnel very differently. Have you game planned at all how what you might look like against them?
Yeah, it will change. I think not significantly, but it will change. There's some subtle differences because the Suzuki line is a little bit unique in not that Aho and Jarvis and Blake or however, Rod's moved it around quite a bit in the first round, played with a bunch of different line combinations, but it's a little bit different from Stromer trying to get him out against some other lines against Montreal, which I felt like we could do on the fly in the offensive zone and kind of counter to what I knew Marty wanted to do from their standpoint. So I think it worked well in the first round. Now where it changes a little bit is Roddy's going to try to get Stahl probably against Stromer. That's his sort of Nick Dowd line. That's his Dvorak line that he utilizes in defensive matchups or tries to get them. So at home, we'll look for certain things. But the main difference, I think, is all four of Carolina's lines, even though, you have to understand that Sebastian Aho and Jarvis and Blake are really talented offensive players. All four of them do very similar things as what they're trying to accomplish shift to shift. So that's where, from a deployment standpoint of Strome's line, is even though we may try to get him away from Stahl, the shift is going to look very similar against all four lines. So they're going to have to be ready to play and check and be able to retrieve pucks and be willing to forecheck against their D, that our gaps are going to be right up on top of you. So they're not that the matchups won't play a significant role, but it'll be a little bit different, like you're talking about, of this compared to the first round.
How do you approach getting ready for this series when you don't know when it's going to start?
Yeah, that's it's an interesting wrinkle because we're trying to game plan here for how many days of preparation. So the way I and our staff approached it today is we're assuming that we're playing Sunday, and if we have to adjust off of that, that's we'll do that. But for us to plan for Monday or Tuesday, and now we're a day short, I think is puts ourselves in a vulnerable spot from a preparation standpoint. So we prepared today, 2 days. We play Sunday night, game 1. If that changes, then we can adjust from there. But that was our approach this morning and how we'll handle today and tomorrow, and we'll find out, I'm assuming tonight, post-game, or maybe in the afternoon. I'm not sure when the actual timing of when they'll release our schedule, but that's how we approached it.
We're all going to be up at midnight watching Winnipeg. And how do you feel your team is playing right now? Obviously, winning the series, there were games that they were down, fought back. What are you seeing from your team that you're liking, and what can they improve on?
Yeah, I really appreciate the way that we came out in that series, because just along with everybody else, when you have the finish to the season that we had, you're a little bit guarded on what it's going to look like, especially early in the series. And right away in game 1, from our first 2 periods, you could tell we were in playoff mode, and the guys had turned it on and were extremely prepared and ready for playoff hockey. I thought our start was excellent in that series, first 2 games. Now the finishing of those games wasn't ideal, but we find a way to win both games at home. I think as the series went along, I think we're in a good spot with where our game, what it looks like, our roles inside of our lineup. Guys are playing at a pretty high level. I do think we have another level. I do think we're going to need to get to that level against Carolina. And so that gives me hope, and you feel confident that, okay, Carolina is an extremely difficult opponent. We know them as good as any team that we play against of the 31 other teams. And we do feel like we've got another gear to get to, and we can get to that level, and we're going to need it against a team we're really familiar with.
When you look at Carolina, they're usually a pretty high shot attempt value team. Is that because they're less selective, or is it just they just try to get puck the next thing? And how is defending that differently than defending other teams?
Yeah, so that's one of their bread and butters. They're a shot volume, get everything as much as they possibly can to your net, and they're very predictable to one another because everybody knows exactly where the puck's going. So they go to those areas, and then what they do a really good job of is because the argument against shot volume versus shot quality is it's a very low percentage shot if you shoot from, outside of the scoring area. But why they make it work and why it becomes successful is because they don't shoot 1, they shoot 80. And so now when you shoot 80 pucks at your net, now 4 of them can easily go in because you shot 80 of them, where if we only shoot 30, it's harder to score. So they are constantly getting people around your net, and pucks are going there, and then they get the second and the third and then the fourth and then the fifth, and eventually you break down or they break teams down with those, not necessarily the first one, but the fourth and fifth one. And that's where, for us, and we know what to expect, and we're going to have to do a job. And they know what they do well, we know what we do well, and it's going to be a battle of who can impose their game at a higher level than their opponent.
With that being said, so with 2 teams that know each other so well, what are some of kind of the determining factors that can swing a series in one direction?
Special teams, goaltending, secondary scoring. And those are 3 things that I look at when teams are evenly matched, when it's an even series, when the margins are very, very thin. What is your special teams? Like, I can tell you their special teams against New Jersey, I want to say was 6-0. So there's 6 goals that, have significant impact on the results in the games. And I think one of their 5-on-5 goals came as like one of the power plays just expired. So it would have been essentially, it's a 7th power play goal to 0 for New Jersey. Goaltending, and then obviously if you can get in some tight games, some secondary scoring like we did in game 4, a third or fourth line, big goal late in Andrew Mangiapane, prime example, Brandon Duhaime. I think those are sort of what you're looking for of what can swing a series or significant impact on games in a series, which we'll look for.
You talked a little bit about knowing the Hurricanes really well, having played them a lot. Does it change your approach or preparation at all when it's 2 teams that are really familiar with each other and can't really surprise each other very much?
A little bit, because you don't have to go over some of the stuff that are already well known by the group. I think you just sort of overkill on like them going, thanks, Carbs, we know. This is the 10th time you've told us this year. So you can pick your spots of knowing that, okay, these guys have a really good grasp on this, this, and this. Don't even bother show maybe one of those. So just from what you're focusing on, you can, in the areas our guys have a really good grasp on, you just go a little bit lighter, and then some of the little details or some of the adjustments that you would like to make against them, that's more of the focus. So there is a little bit of a difference in the prep. Folks?
Yeah, I got one
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
In a situation like this, would you reach out to Sheldon Keefe, text, phone call, and just pick his brain at all on what he just went through facing the Canes?
Can't give you my secrets, folks. Like that's undercover stuff.